Dilithium crystallizing. Okay, we are a go. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to the BAMF podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, and with me today is a smaller than usual round table, but that's okay. It'll be quiet and more focused. We've got speaking of quiet, we've got Professor Christopher McLaughlin. How you doing, Chris?
Sleepy, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Could you tell our listeners why you're kind of low energy today?
It's standardized testing week in Virginia.
Not a fun time to be a teacher. I'm taking.
This is really when they give you plenty of time to sit around and question your life and career choices.
I got you. I got you. Also joining us is frequent co-host Walt Rebillard from Hazard Studios. How you doing, Walt?
I am not a teacher, so I'm hyper as hell.
Well, also you ingest like a lot of caffeine on a daily basis, don't you, Walt?
I think I support the gross national product of countries like Colombia and Nicaragua. So yes, the answer to that is yes. Big
And there's
exclamation point.
just a bunch of obvious drug jokes I'm not going to make, but
I
that
stay
was
away from those in favor of the coffee.
fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so today we're going to bitch about various things related to pop culture and comics and geekdom, and try to focus on Marvel's Civil War, which I haven't seen yet, but I believe Chris and Walt, you guys have.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
And
sir.
actually, that was the inspiration for this podcast. Was Chris had a pretty interesting Facebook post about what he thought about Civil War.
Well, thank you.
So I saw something from Dan Taylor, and I think Walt spoiled most of the movie for me before the show. But Dan had a post. If you're not familiar with Dan, he's Hero Happy Hour. It used to be Superhero Happy Hour before Marvel and DC sent him a C&D. But he said, it's a sad world where Donald Trump is a presidential candidate and Captain America is a political refugee. And I was like, shoo, that's harsh, but yeah, maybe so. Although I guess we shouldn't get too political on the podcast, right? We don't want to offend any of our. Do we have any listeners who are Trump supporters? Write in, let me know. Because honestly, I'm curious, but I don't know. I don't know. Me and my dad argue politics sometimes, and he's going to vote for whoever the Republican candidate is, and I think it's really killing him that it's going to be Trump this time. And I'm like, Dad, we're making history. This guy is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, and he's going to be president. Isn't that great? Your
That's
guy.
fantastic.
Yeah. He just kind of grumbles and says it's not Hillary. So
That would be my answer. At least it's not Hillary.
Yeah. Chris, do you have any opinion you want to express on this, or should we just shuffle off into comic books and superhero films?
Well, I don't think I think everybody that's on my Facebook feed knows that I've been never Trump since 1983. So nothing has changed.
Fair enough. Hey, before we jump into the film, you guys read any comics lately? Because I wanted to complain about Future Quest, but did you?
Is it really that bad?
Honestly, it's not bad at all. It's just a very by the numbers setup for a big comics event. You got it starts off kind of interesting. You've got the guys who I think are the predecessor for Space Ghost. There's some kind of Green Lantern Corps fighting basically Space Cthulhu. And then from there, it kind of segues into the Johnny Quest gang are out in the Everglades, and there's weird multiversal happenings, portals in the sky through which they can see like the Herculoids, or Space Ghost, or various other Hanna-Barbera licensed characters, and a couple secret agents going to meet Dr. Quest at his swamp laboratory, and then giants. It's reminding me of reading for Final Crisis or any one of the other DC issue 1 of Final Crisis or any other DC crossover event in the last 10 years, which isn't bad. It's just I've watched so much Venture Brothers over the last decade that when I see these characters specifically, I'm just kind of waiting for Brock Sampson to show up. So that might be I don't know. So it wasn't bad. It was the art was great. The plot line was just kind of by the numbers, and I was really hoping for a little more pizzazz. So I don't know. That's my one beef. Have you guys read it? You guys read anything else you want to talk about?
There are certain things in my life that will make me immediately lose interest, change the channel, close the browser, or whatever. Stuff like Tonight on Comedy Central or Jenny McCarthy, or and one of those is Jim Lee character redesign. And when I saw that they were giving him a shot at turning Scooby Doo and turning Shaggy into a bearded hipster tattooed douchebag, I just completely lost interest in anything that DC was planning on doing with Hanna-Barbera. I mean, granted, I'm fairly sick of like studios spending the gross national product of Venezuela trying to update stuff I knew was crap when I was 8 or 9. Now, admittedly, I loves me some crap. The highlight of my week so far has been Riff Tracks has done Hillbillies in a Haunted House. I loves me some crap, but I mean, sooner or later you have to fucking grow up, and I think our culture is heading in the exact wrong direction. And when they're putting this much time and effort into Saturday morning cartoons that weren't that great to begin with, and there's never been a film adaptation of A Confederacy of Dunces, you just really, really have to question where your culture is going. So it's just part of my larger cultural depression and ennui.
Confederate Dunces would be an awfully hard book to get right, though.
Yeah, but do you know how much I would rather see them try that than Transformers Part 5?
Okay, I understand, but there's not a whole lot of corporate toy makers who want to do Confederacy of Dunces. Now, if Hasbro had the rights,
Oh God, we'd have the Confederacy of Dunces extended universe.
with a Dunce leadership matrix, and
yes.
So, do you guys know that Hasbro has copyrighted the term HasbroCon?
That's a little weird.
Yeah, it was on EN World this week, and this is shortly after Hasbro has announced they're not going to have a presence at Gen Con. And Hasbro has also announced they're trying to do a cross-platform movie universe, which I'm not sure what all properties they want in there. I'm guessing at the very least like G.I. Joe and Transformers.
And don't forget that Battleship movie.
I had to watch that because my wife is a great fan of the work of Mr. Michael Bay. So yeah.
The only part of that movie I really enjoyed was when the World War II vets have to help on a decommissioned battleship take on an alien warship, and it was just goofy enough to be absolutely hysterically fun, But the rest of the movie, I mean, they tried to get you invested in all these different characters for different reasons, and one of the characters I identified with because he's a vet who's trying to regain the use of his legs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something I can identify with. But the rest of the movie, you just sat there with your mouth partially open most of the time, waiting for a break in the action so you could just keep bellowing out why.
Yeah, I think we saw this at kind of the Colorado version of Alamo Draft House, sort of a bar/movie theater. And I want to say I had her drive, so I get wasted like early in the movie. So I remember some of the things you talked about. Like, if I recall, there was a slow walk with the veterans down the hallway of the battleship. The dramatic slow walk of the old guys coming to help the new guys, kind of thing. And other than that, it's just kind of all a hazy blur of Captain Morgan rum and Diet Coke with lime. But well, hey, maybe speaking of movies that actually provide unironic enjoyment, let's talk about Marvel Civil War. Chris, you want to weigh in on this since you're kind of the inspiration for the conversation?
Well, since there's three of us, I figure now is probably the best time to start reading manifestos online. So, would you mind if I just shared the Facebook thing I wrote on Facebook? Because I don't think I can top that, honestly.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay. Alrighty. I wrote, for much of the 20th century, it seemed humanity was doomed to be enthralled to a political extreme. Either we'd be under the jackboot heel of the right and violently persecuted for our race/ethnicity/religion/orientation, or forcibly re-educated out of any dissenting beliefs by the kind words and harsh imprisonment of the left. Heads it's Hitler, tails it's Stalin. Either way, we lose. The gulags and the graveyards wind up full no matter what. Now in 2016, America, we're about to flip that same lamentable coin yet again. Hollywood, if it chooses to make films about anything at all in these perilous days, is so laughingly predictable in what it will address, it's driven to parody its own ennui, from The Naked Gun 33 1/3 to Tropic Thunder. My disdain for modern cinema is not just that at age 47 I've seen the same films before, it's that I saw them last month. As I watch freedom and the arts wither, enter the least likely non-Sandler candidate to shatter both trends, a double-digit sequel, reboot, remake superhero movie. But Captain America Civil War is that and more. It is iconoclastic and a minor miracle. In today's stifling, censorious political climate, Civil War openly sides with individual freedom, even with all its acknowledged dangers. Moreover, in a Hollywood which sees no enemies to the left, it chooses to depict liberalism's sacred cows, the United Nations, and international consensus as threats to liberty, foregoing the usual lazy, yawn-inducing shots at capitalism and religion. And not just as menaces to liberty in general, but to Captain America, symbol of that much-derided nation that stands, parentheses, stood, for self-governance. It's fascinating how the Cap series began with fighting the violent extreme right of Nazis and Hydra, and now dares to take on the "this gulag's for you, your own good, and other children's and others' safety," and won't someone think of the children left? If comic books really are our modern American mythology, then Mark Cap is my favorite four-color deity, as he opposes tyrants across the spectrum. Best of all, the movie is thoroughly enjoyable even without all this poli-sci professor rambling stuff. The creator's message never interferes with a compelling dramatic narrative, frequently leavened with great humor. Civil War is the movie Zack Snyder thinks he's made after smearing his own filth on theater walls.
Nice.
That's so egomaniacal to laugh at your own stuff. I'm sorry. It's been so long I actually forgot I wrote that. Okay. Somehow, a film with roughly 794 characters does justice to them all. Even Tony Stark, who remains believable and sympathetic, even as we violently disagree with him, in marked contrast to the film's execrable source. The movie is about learning lessons, and even as I readily identify with Cap the teacher, we've all been in the role of Tony the student. We all have the emotional urge to control and protect, never seeing the greater damage done by lovingly crushing the things we care about. Just as I thought Black Panther was being overshadowed, Chadwick Boseman darn near steals the movie at the end. He imparts an equally important lesson about the futility of vengeance, one I hope will be taken to heart in this election year, just as much as the warning about the erosion of freedom. And Marvel sold a ticket to the Panther solo film with one line in the mid-credits scene. If they started recruiting, please accept Professor McGee on the Team Panther. It beggars the imagination to think that in addition to all this, Civil War is the best Spider-Man movie ever. Marvel sold a homecoming ticket as well. Civil War isn't perfect, the funeral scene is cringeworthy, and while Marvel is only going to sacrifice so many characters, Quicksilver's death would have been far more poignant and meaningful here than in Age of Ultron. A Civil War without great loss seems off, without something comparable to Pietro's demise, large as CW's emotional toll is. The acting, directing, editing, sound, script, and special effects are all top-notch. Even when all 794 characters battle, the film remains clear and exciting, in marked contrast to the depraved competition's output. Cinema helped raise me, and still I've never seen anything quite like the Marvel movie empire. As a confirmed DC Comics guy, I am an unlikely fan, but thank God for these films. They give me hope for art, liberty, and all of us. Hashtag Team Cap. Thank you.
That was
Nice.
beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
We should be throwing like laurels at your feet.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Because it is
kind of you.
It is a very insightful review, and you
Thank
do
you.
pull out very poignant pieces of the film and do them significant justice. Because I mean, there are parts of that film when you're watching it. I'm in agreement with you in that when you say all 794 characters, because 794 characters on a screen, just like in a video game, you're going to start bogging down the refresh rate and everything goes to hell and nothing works right, and on screen in a movie, it's so tough to give somebody that time to actually be invested. But Black Panther, I mean, King T'Challa, I think, or when he's Prince T'Challa, that moment where he has with his dad, right before the Accords. I mean, you have these two powerful men about to sign this world-changing piece of legislature, and they stop and they take a moment to acknowledge their love for each other. So it's almost like they're acknowledging the importance of what they believe at that minute, for the sake of each other. And that was, to have so many characters and still get that that view in from such a wide scope to such a narrow scope, so you're actually seeing each person and what they brought to the film. That's really important. That's a very important point.
Yeah, and it was handled so quietly. I mean, it's done very at its own pace and very tenderly. I mean, it would have been so easy for that film to come off as, "Well, son, I've only got 2 more days till retirement." Ha 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 ha. But it really, I think you're right. It really is remarkably well done.
And his lesson about vengeance at the end was you know, you go from absolute hate to realizing that how can you hate something so pitiful as Zemo.
Yeah, I'm so sick of payback culture. I'm really sick of everybody in general. Well, except for you two guys, being all petulant, being all petulant and butthurt. I mean, that was. I mean, I thought that was such a wonderful element to what was already a spectacular film.
And
Well,
what did?
it's just I don't. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, please go.
Oh, I was gonna say it's kind of about time because I mean the revenge as a motivation for films is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was kind of a 70s thing, right? And it's sort of just kind of overdone in the 80s and 90s, and it's kind of with say Liam Neeson's latest works kind of just getting ridden into the ground, isn't it?
Well, to me, the ultimate revenge film was Witchfinder General in '68, and then somewhere in the '70s, as our culture just started to completely fall apart, or at least it certainly seemed to feel that way. Then we sort of drifted over into Dirty Harry, and then Death Wish, and then by the time it's the '80s, revenge. We have these video game revenge movies, which have never really gone away.
Yeah. By Taken 3, I'm just wondering if it's bad parenting.
Well, crappy parenting is the source of a good many ills. But
Yeah. No, I mean he kept losing his daughter, but it's okay. That joke just kind of fizzled, so we can move on quickly to something else. So,
sorry, I'm asleep. Sorry.
No, it's one of those jokes that sounded great in my head, and then I got out into the world, and I was like, oh, that was so funny inside. But all right. One thing that amazes me about Marvel is how they can take characters who I don't think should ever work on film, like Captain America, Thor, and Black Panther, and somehow make them so. I might be the only person who liked Thor 2, but I'm looking forward to Thor 3. I've always been. I mean, I guess having the Ultimate Universe as a template helped, but Black Panther was a character I didn't think you could ever do in film, and not just have him come across as exploitive and be goofy. And from what you guys are saying, they found a way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, not only did they bring him across well, but there are scenes in that when he comes across powerfully. There's a section where he and Hawkeye tangle in a bit, and the average Joe would have gotten blasted by what Hawkeye dishes out, and when the smoke clears, he's dropping his hands from his face, and is just like, all right. I see your hand, and now I'm going to raise you. And it was a pretty powerful scene. But even when he wasn't in the uniform, at one point he jumps over a railing, and you're thinking to yourself, at least I did, especially from a martial arts angle. I know that when you jump a significant distance, unless you understand, and I know that our good friend Charlie McKelvey can back us up on this, as he is not only a big comic book guy, but he's also a proponent of parkour. He does it with his kids and his whole family. When you jump a significant distance, if you don't land correctly, the injury is just going to happen whether you want it to or not. And they even staged it so that when he comes over that railing, you can see the dynamics of how he's landing, of what he wants to accomplish when he lands, and it just lended more credence to his prowess combatively. So that was pretty wild to see as well.
Cool. So I spoil the movie for me a little bit more. Whose funeral are we talking about?
That would be Black Panther's father. No, excuse me.
Okay.
No. It was no. It's oh God, because you don't actually see in the movie. It's Agent Carter.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
And
she's like
honestly,
90 now, so yeah.
the funeral scene was my least favorite scene in the movie. That was one of the few clunkers in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, just because Agent 13 takes Cap's now famous line from the conversation between him and Spider-Man.
No, the nudge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know you're totally distraught at the only woman you've ever loved, but hey, you could go bone her young niece.
Oh, that's awful.
Oh, your last name is Carter. Well, now.
I mean, it's like going up to a friend who's just lost his wife or something, and going, does she have a younger single sister? I mean, who would say that? I mean, it was just a terrible, terrible moment. It's almost like the writer just wrote out what he was trying to accomplish with the scene, thinking I would go in and fill it in later, but they just went ahead and mimeographed the pages where it says, set up the fact that Steve is now going to be boning her young hot niece.
Mm. I was in a writing class once in college, and I had to review everybody's story every week, and there was a guy who, one part of his story just said at the top of the page, "I will replace this later with a much better scene."
And he went on to write the screenplay for Batman versus Superman.
Or Batman and Robin Forever. I don't know, but yeah, it's just like, well, that's a nice mix of straightforwardness and just naked desperation right there on the page.
Yes.
So, all right.
I keep waiting for the day that I get an essay that just says, "Please don't fail me."
That's never happened.
Not yet. I've gotten comparisons to the day the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. Oh no, excuse me, days the Vietnamese bombed Pearl Harbor. Excuse me, I was thinking Animal House for a second, but no, I've legitimately gotten the Vietnamese bombing Pearl Harbor.
Oh man, that's
And thank God President Lincoln was there to deal with it.
Oh my God.
Cyborg Lincoln has saved us from so much calamity as a nation.
So as much as that hurts my head, and as much as I'd love to delve deeper into that, what did you think of Ant-Man in the film?
Well, Ant-Man, it was kind of my moment of clarity, because when I paid to get to see Ant-Man in IMAX 3D, I said, it's time to admit we've got a problem here, a good problem. But let's face it, I think you may have to return your bona fides to DC, because if you're paying to see Ant-Man and IMAX 3D, you may have succumbed to Marveldom. And it's just he's sort of totemic of the fact that it just seems like everything Marvel tries is not only good, but like way better than you would ever expect, and in ways you don't expect. And they've come up with such a great take on that character, and Paul Rudd is so good in that role. It was just, he was just yet another delight in a film full of them.
I don't know why I thought you would hate that.
Oh my God, they had me from I got the van.
Did you see the Easter egg for Ant-Man that came out? It was on the internet, I want to say a week or two ago.
Easter egg?
No.
Yeah, it was on Reddit. Some dude with a lot of spare time and had the streaming or DVD version of Ant-Man. And during the scene at the end where Paul Rudd goes subatomic I forget why he goes subatomic, but for some reason he shrinks down super small. And he's subatomic, and it's kind of that kaleidoscope effect there for a few minutes while he's some guy out there with a lot of free time was going through it frame by frame, and you can see the Wasp from the 1980s in there, in like
Really?
three or four frames. You see her reflected clearly on his helmet, and there's one scene where you see her reaching out to him clearly. I mean, granted, you got to slow the damn thing down to frame by frame before you see this. So if it's an Easter egg, it's buried under 3 feet of dirt in your backyard. But yeah, apparently that gives some hope for seeing the original Wasp in the sequel. And apparently,
gives them something to do rather than dipping into Ant-Man's vast rogues gallery.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Michael Douglas has been campaigning to get Catherine Zeta-Jones cast in the movie. So, yeah, I bet it is on her playing Janet Van Dyne. But yeah, who knows? So I don't know. Just interesting trivia. But
as talented as the folks are that made the original, I love how they go back to the comics, for inspiration for later stories. And just sitting there with all 30, 40 Ant-Man solo stories, just going, all right, Egghead, Whirlwind, Porcupine.
well, I mean, honestly, any of these characters except for a handful. I mean, yeah, Spider-Man has a rogues gallery, but Iron Man's rogues gallery, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's a good thing they did Mandarin as a joke, because I really don't think you could translate that character, to the, to a form that would be appealing and not offensive to modern moviegoers. Or, oh God, actually, maybe I'm wrong, because they had they had Batroc is it Batroc or Batroc the Leaper?
Batroc.
Yeah, in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and he wasn't the goofy motherfucker you would think he would be. But so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But Marvel has a lot of really terrible villains. I figured that's why they had to do Civil War eventually, because once you get past like Doctor Doom and Magneto, there's just a lot of B-list villains in the Marvel universe.
And
well,
I
but
think
if you can make your D-list heroes interesting, you should be able to work some of that same magic on your villains.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Speaking of C and D list villains, so Zemo was pretty interesting in this movie. That's what I'm hearing. Is that right?
He gets that way. They sort of they misdirect you about what the actual final challenge boss level fight is going to be, and then instead of the thing that they've been building up through a good chunk of the movie, you get exposition dump, you get background dump. And it's maybe not the best way to have handled it. It worked okay enough, and it's certainly redeemed by that final scene between him and the Black Panther. I thought he was a more effective villain than, say, the guy that was Yellow Jacket in Ant-Man, or Ronan the way that Ronan the Accuser was handled in Guardians of the Galaxy, or anybody that Thor has ever fought ever, except for Loki, of course. So I mean, it was certainly a cut above your usual Marvel movie villain.
Okay, fair enough. Walt, do you agree?
I thought he worked best going back to I think it's a 1983, 87 movie review where they were critiquing the original Predator movie. And they said that the monster itself worked fantastically when you couldn't see it. And that's, I think, how Zemo came across in this movie. When you were getting little bits of his machinations of what he was doing, you were like, oh, that's creepy. Oh God, oh, he killed this guy. Oh my God, he's been doing this. And you felt like when he was that hidden threat, he was this looming, omniscient presence. But when he was like Chris was saying, when he was sitting at the end of the movie, and you see him, with this big exposition dump, he just it was almost easy for Black Panther to say there's no I can't get revenge on you because you're something to be pitied, not something to be feared. And that's I think that worked for the film, because it showed that, even the lowliest of us can wreak absolute havoc if you're just driven enough.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So where's Marvel going from here? What's the next Marvel movie on the slate? Do you guys know?
It's supposed to be Doctor Strange around Thanksgiving, I believe, which I saw a trailer for before Civil War.
Oh, how was the trailer?
Well, okay. Doctor Strange has never really grabbed me as a character. I'm not really sure I'm the target audience for that. But it was just, and I tried to watch it from the perspective of somebody that has no familiarity with the character, because I'm guessing that's like 99.99% of the human race. And other than the Marvel logo, other than the goodwill that the Marvel logo has bought, I just came out of that trailer thinking I'm not really sure why I would want to see this movie.
Well, it's got Benedict Cumberbatch.
Well, and if you're into the whole Sherlock thing, God bless you. I understand it's a good show, but from my admittedly skewed perspective, he's just fake Khan.
He's just fake. Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, I never really got the appeal of Doctor Strange either. I picked up the most recent Doctor Strange when I saw that Steve Kenson had recommended it on social media, and uh, they've I wouldn't say they rebooted the character, but they kind of like it's the first good Doctor Strange comic I've ever read, including the ones where he was in the Avengers, always explaining how he couldn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty good, and they've kind of frustratingly they set up this big threat, and they're kind of on hiatus now, waiting for things to resolve. But yeah, it's funny. It's well written. The action's well paced. It doesn't have an unwieldy amount of exposition dumped into it the way you can get sometimes with characters like Doctor Strange. So
yeah.
I'm enjoying it a lot more than I did the recent Doctor Fate comic.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a shame because I really want to like a Doctor Fate comic. They just haven't made one that doesn't bore me.
Ooh, did you read the Steve Gerber one?
Well, I was going to amend that statement by saying in a long time, but as a matter of fact, I haven't read Steve Gerber. When
you
was that?
really need to read the Steve Gerber one.
Okay.
Yeah, they were going to do an ongoing Doctor Fate series that Gerber was going to write, but unfortunately, it was about the time that he was dying, and in fact, he never completed the final issue of the initial story arc. So they wound up putting it into a split book called,
Mystery.
Yeah, that's it. With some incredibly forgettable Eclipso stories, but the Doctor Fate stories. Oh my God! I love Steve Gerber. I wish Steve Gerber was alive for so many reasons, just to see what he would be saying about this election year. But oh my God, that Doctor Fate series was so good. I mean, it showed that he still had it. And
okay.
I really wish that I mean as cool as it is to see Doctor Fate.
Hey, Chris, I think I just lost everything you said. Could you say that again?
Oh yeah, okay. The Steve Gerber Doctor Fate series was great. I really wish that somebody had built from that. As cool as it is that Doctor Fate is now an actual Egyptian in two universes, his take on the character was so good. I was really sorry that it didn't go anywhere, and doubly sorry that it didn't go anywhere because he left us.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check them out because, like I say, it's been the last Doctor Fate stories I can remember liking were actually some of the stuff I saw back on the Bruce Timm animated show. Boy.
And also if you can find it, there was like a 4-issue miniseries with the Hector Hall version that was supposed to set up an ongoing that unfortunately never happened, and I thought had a very interesting take on the character. Okay, that's worth tracking down if you can find it. I can't think of the writer because I'm asleep, unfortunately. But I've always been very fond of it.
Okay. Hey, I need to stop and make an announcement. Dom Sumner has just joined us. How you doing, Dom?
Pretty good.
Okay. We've been trying to get Dom on the podcast for a little while now. Dom has done some writing for us, and he also does a lot of writing for the Super System. Don, you've got your own publishing imprint, right?
That's correct, sir.
What's the name of that?
New Millennium Games.
Okay, cool. And you can find them on RPG Now. It does a lot of single character villain releases for Supers, and we're glad to have you, Dom. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome, sir. Yeah, and I'm getting tied up at a car dealership, so I will burn up a lot more time than I thought.
No worries. You buying a new car or are you making repairs?
No, I had to drop it off for repair. I had a recall.
Oh, all right, gotcha. Well, hey, we just spent a whole lot of time talking about Captain America: Civil War. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was a decent movie. It seems more of a tie-in to the actual last Avengers movie than it did Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah, I've heard it kind of called Avengers 3.
Yeah, it's more like a sequel to Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and the Avengers movie. Introduced a lot of new characters and set some stuff up for the next couple of movies.
Okay, cool. So if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
Probably about a 7.
Okay, well, that's
A few minor nitpicks here and there.
What are your nitpicks?
I thought it could have spent a little more time setting things up for the actual Civil War. It seemed like they just kind of jumped in feet first after the one little incident at the beginning.
The comic kind of seemed that way to me too. All of a sudden, like, hey, everybody's fighting.
So, you only get 2.5 hours of movie. I guess they had to do what they had to do.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Any character that particularly stood out for you in this one?
Probably Black Panther stood out a lot.
Yeah, Walt and Chris were just saying the same thing about that guy.
It seemed like they highlighted him and set a few things up. And Spider-Man, they did a decent job with Spider-Man as well.
So what's up with this new Spider-Man? I mean, I was kind of surprised to hear he was going to be in the movie, but you guys are saying he was pretty good?
Best Spider-Man movie ever.
It actually seems like the most accurate depiction of him so far.
So he puts Tobey Maguire to shame?
They didn't put Tobey Maguire to shame. It's just that I think it seemed more in character what people think of when they think Spider-Man.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the feeling I always got from the Tobey Maguire films was even though like they technically told his origin, it had more of a feel of the Spider-Man that was in the comics at the time. You know, you really didn't. I didn't really see the arc for that version of the character, but in this one, he's 16. He has a homemade costume when he first pops up in the film. I mean, you see an arc for this character. I mean, this really does feel like Amazing Fantasy 15 right there on the screen. And you can see, oh my God, they could take this and just take it through, the Ditko years, through Gwen Stacy, all the way up through everything that's ever happened to this character.
Which, if you watch the end of the movie, seems to be their plan.
And God bless them. They sold a ticket to Homecoming.
So what is Homecoming? You keep mentioning that.
Well, that's going to be the first Marvel Spider-Man film, and the rumor du jour is that Michael Keaton is going to be in it as the Vulture.
Oh, Michael Keaton who just played Birdman?
Yes, very meta, isn't it?
That's kind of on the nose, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, that's cool. Not that I don't like Spider-Man, but goddamn, how many Spider-Man movies do we need in this 15-year? That's a lot of Spider-Man.
It's a Spider-Man we've never seen before, and it's a Spider-Man that I mean they've already got Robert Downey Jr. signed up for Homecoming, so it's a Spider-Man that can interact with Iron Man.
All right. Well, what do you think about this?
Oh, they've already got my money on this because just the scenes between Tony Stark and Hot Aunt May. Because you got Marissa Tomei playing Aunt May, and as he interacts with the young Peter Parker, he's like, so what's the deal with hot Aunt May back there, and making the kid feel uncomfortable throughout the movie, and it's pretty hysterical, so
Marissa Tomei is playing Oscar award winner, and Marissa Tomei is playing Aunt May.
That
Correct.
She is.
What the fucking fuck? Really? She's Marissa Tomei. Guys, help me out here. Help me. Has Aunt May ever been
on the plate of my cousin Vinny here?
Yeah,
you remind me of something else, Mike. Isn't it amazing how Marvel is going out and getting all these top-notch actors and putting them in these like basically ridiculous parts, and yet very, very, very few of them are just there for the check. I mean, they're actually giving you really good performances as characters that Stan Lee came up with over lunch 50 years ago.
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of where I mean, no disrespect to Marissa Tomei, who is a great actor in her own right. I'm kind of surprised to see her playing Aunt May, whose role in the comics is basically to kind of. Hell, I interviewed Stan Lee at one point, and he was like, the whole deal with Aunt May was he's got to be worried about her having a heart attack if she ever finds out who he is, and that's kind of her whole existence as a character.
Yeah,
years in the comics. Yeah, and it just seems like you could get anybody to do that, but yeah, like you said, they get top-notch actor talent to play roles that Steve came up with over 3 cocktails, back in 1963. So
they just announced today that Carl Urban and Jeff Goldblum are going to be in the next Thor movie.
Playing who?
They haven't said.
Actually, Carl Urban. Carl crap, I forgot the character that they did announce it.
Oh, they did?
Yes, but more importantly than that, the internet broke today when they said that in a fit of nerd rage that Tessa Thompson is going to be cast as Valkyrie.
Why is that a problem?
Much like Idris Elba, who is a fantastic actor, practically broke the internet when he was assigned as Balder? No, not Balder. Heimdall.
Oh,
yeah. The Guardian of the
Because everybody was like,
Rainbow Bridge.
yeah, because everybody was like, oh, he's a man of color. How can he play a Viking? And it's like, dude, these guys are aliens. They can be anything they look like. Who cares? But he was a fantastic actor, and I got to tell you, every time he was on screen, I was magnetized. Could not look away because he just had that timbre to his voice and the way that he did his eyes and the way he acted. I loved him as Heimdall.
Earl Urban is playing Scourge.
Yeah, there you go. And they got Tessa Thompson, who is another actress of color, playing Valkyrie, who's supposed to be this, blonde maiden who scoops up the fallen into Valhalla. So of course everybody's getting a whole lot of nerd rage. But I mean, you even got Cate Blanchett playing Hela. So I mean, there was a lot of info dump on that today, and the internet just broke with nerd rage. It's totally, I don't know. I agree with you, Mike. If the actor on screen has that presence to carry off the role, who cares? I mean, we've had these characters for how many years now? Why not reinterpret them a little bit so that they're interesting and being portrayed by fantastic actors?
Yeah, I don't know. I almost wonder if sometimes they just use nerd rage as a marketing technique. I guess we'll piss off some guys who will talk about it. Well, exactly. I mean, especially if, God, that last Mad Max movie, I was going to give it a pass because I could give two shits about Mad Max. I really could. I only heard about it because all these dudes were mad about the female lead having such a big role, which doesn't really matter to me. But the guys who were complaining about it were all guys who I thought were assholes. And I was like, well, I've seen three assholes complain about this movie. Maybe I would like it, and I wouldn't have checked it out otherwise. But enough dicks I knew online were complaining about it. I checked it, and I really enjoyed it. Hell, was that nominated for the Oscar this year? It might have been. I don't know. But I just wonder sometimes if it's like reverse psychology marketing is we'll get all the assholes on social media to complain about it, and then they'll raise the attention level, and people think, well, if these dicks hate it, then yeah, maybe it's okay. I don't know. It's just a theory I have. So, and I just rambled and killed the conversation dead. I feel bad about that. Chris, Dom, wow, help me out. Someone talk about something.
Hey, Dom, what are you reading in comics?
Right now, believe it or not, I'm reading The Troop from Titan Comics.
The Troop? What's that about?
It's sort of a group of teenagers. They're in a world. It's present day time. Something happens. Each of them starts to gain powers. The world's third richest man starts to gather them up together in a group, and there's a group opposed to him that is trying to kill him off.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy. I cannot think of the writer's name off the top of my head right now. He was actually one of the actors from the first season of Doctor Who, the new Doctor Who. He played one of the companion's boyfriends on that. For the life of me, his name is escaping me right now.
Is he the writer or artist on this?
He is the writer on that. The artist is a guy I've never heard of before. He's actually pretty good.
I think the writer is Noel Clarke on that book.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, cool. I did not know that. That's pretty interesting. Hey, you didn't read Future Quest, did you?
No.
Okay, because I was bitching about it, no one else had read it, so I was kind of hoping you could tell me about it, but no biggie. Walt, you read anything these days?
Oh God, yeah, so much. Mostly independent stuff, but the one that's really got my attention right now is We Stand on Guard. Have you seen it?
That finished up, isn't that's the one? It's a sci-fi one where America invades Canada. It's
yes.
The ragtag band of Canadian freedom fighters fighting back against America, fighting giant robots and shit.
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's. I was really enjoying it. Dark as shit, but
right.
Really well done.
That, and of course, got to give a shout out to the boys over at Action Lab for their Actionverse comic.
Is that pretty good? Because I've read most of the other titles, but I haven't read the action verse combined one. I haven't checked that out.
It's fun. It's fun. Another, it's a crossover comic. So you got the standard, we need to mix dimensions and blah blah blah. But I mean, it's fun writing. Especially, you don't go in there reading it for the story. You're going in there to read it for the interaction between all the different characters, which is fantastic.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, it's really good. I have it on. I have it as a subscription, so I'm getting it every week, and it's been really a lot of fun.
I think my favorite action lab was Stray. I've really been hoping for some more from that title, but if I gotta go to Actionverse to get it, maybe that's what I gotta do.
Yeah, he's in it a lot. He's definitely in it a lot, and it's fun to see the interaction between those guys because you got the two guys, Midnight Tiger and Stray, who get along so well. You got the character Jamal Eigel's character, Molly Danger, who's not really sure where she fits in, and then you got guys like the First Hero, who comes from a universe where he's the only person to gain superpowers who isn't violently insane. So he looks at everybody with suspicion. So it's really a neat dynamic.
Hmm. Maybe they should do like a Stray Midnight Tiger team up. That'd be kind of like, although I mean, Stray's basically Robin or Arsenal, and Midnight Tiger is sort of like a more powerful Spider-Man, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. That could be fun. So,
Uh,
Chris, what are you reading anything these days, or are you kind of taking some time away from the four-color comic books?
Well, I've ordered a good chunk of the Rebirth books because DC said that last time it was just angry and going through a lot, and if I came back to it, things would be different. And it was going to make some changes, and it was going to be like it was in the old days.
We'll see on that. I'm sitting on the fence on Rebirth.
And but the main thing I'm reading now is I went out on free comic book day and bought comics because apparently I don't understand how free comic book day works. I got a good deal on all the collective editions of Roy Thomas's The Invaders from like 75 through 78, 79.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And I'm just having such a great time reading those. I mean, it's just once you get past like those like enormous chunks of like 1970s woe is me Marvel character dialogue, the stories just work. They really do. I mean, it's just it's like comic comfort food to me in a day and an age when Hal Jordan is wearing a hoodie.
This is truth. Yeah. I gotta tell you, having Dan Abnett on a couple weeks back kind of gave me some hope for DC Rebirth. Just Dan's enthusiasm and the fact that Dan's a writer I like and he's heavily involved. But I don't know. I mean, DC's telling us they're not gonna drink anymore and they're sorry they hit us. And
Get some grief counseling.
yeah, I'm glad to hear that. It's just the New 52 was so bad in so many ways, and so.
And don't you know it's about good storytelling, sir? It's not about history.
But I'm excited for that DCU. I think that's really going to take off.
Okay, I can tell you're being sarcastic, but
yeah. That
DC
turned things around.
Was this a branding that I missed?
Oh no, this was their
That was
their
the
latest
revamp inside the revamp.
Yeah, reboot that isn't a reboot when there was going to be no continuity and all that. And everything
was that the Batgirling of DC?
Yeah, everything was going to be Batgirled.
Okay, yeah.
And
yeah.
I had just finished laughing at the Bat Bunny armor, and then Hal Jordan in a hoodie just made me say, "This is not going to work. This is just going to be a huge embarrassment."
I really thought they were joking with the Bat Bunny armor, and then I was like, "No, that's the thing. We're serious about it."
Oh yeah. But at least they realize there's a problem. I mean, they're even firing people in the movie division. So I mean, I don't know.
Looks like Jeff Johns has taken over the reins on the movies.
Other than just stop letting that cultural cancer Zack Snyder make movies, I guess that's all we can hope for.
Zack Snyder's
Go ahead.
total exposure to comics seems to be 300, Dark Knight Returns, and I mean, this is what he focuses on. So you're basing all of these on like really dark comics, all written by the same guy.
Well, the prison rape comment I think tells you everything you need to know about that poor sick man.
And
Now
this
just
is the person they
yeah.
want to put in charge of the movie thing, and I just can't
Oh
figure
yeah.
out.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
understand why people aren't connecting.
Yeah.
Now help me out here. The last time Jeff Johns was let near a movie set, that was for the Green Lantern Ryan Reynolds movie, right?
Well, he's actually, from what I understand, he's the one that's been directing all their TV stuff behind the scenes, kind of keeping everything on the same
Okay.
tone. And he said he thinks that all the movies need something a little more cheerful, a little more hope, and it's
Hmm.
too dark.
Yeah. Well, from what I'm hearing, I mean, maybe you guys watch it because I haven't seen. I've seen like one episode of The Flash, but I've been hearing that Supergirl, The Flash, League of Legends are all pretty decent. I don't know. Have you guys seen that stuff?
Legends of Tomorrow. I
Yeah,
don't think
Legends
I've
of
ever
Tomorrow.
checked that. I haven't checked out Legends of Tomorrow, but I know a lot of people that watch them. The only thing I watch is I catch Supergirl every once in a while. It's been decent.
Really? Okay. Walt, how about you?
The Supergirl Flash crossover um, was like a fan giggle on the screen. It was like the whole time it was just like two people who thought they were the only superheroes in the world who suddenly had somebody to confide in, and now they were going to have a girl pajama party sleepover. It was actually a lot of fun to watch.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, Chris, as one of the primary writers of the DC Adventures role-playing game, have you been checking out these TV shows?
I have not, but I can. Well, okay, I did try the Flash, but
Okay.
but I can pay them an even greater compliment than anything that I personally could express about them. I think everybody that knows me online knows my awesome wife. My awesome wife lives up to the title, and just not a criticism, just an observation. She's probably read less than one long box worth of superhero comics in her life. She is a comics fan, but she's more into other genres and other things. You know, big Bone fan, stuff like that. And my wife doesn't miss any of those shows. I
Really?
mean, she every just has not missed
Even
a one of
Gotham.
them. Is a huge fan. She's the one person still watching Gotham.
As I said, even Gotham. I'm like,
Yeah. And if you're bringing in people that aren't your natural audience like that and hooking them and get them excited about your shows, you've done something pretty remarkable. I think we were talking about that first season of the relaunched Doctor Who. I mean, those of us who live by that, I'm an after John Pertwee there was only void kind of guy, but even I have to marvel at how here was like this geekiest of things, and now it's huge because people that wouldn't have given the original a shot have been drawn in by how wonderfully it's been reinvented. So I think we need to give some of the same kind of credit to the people behind this current run of DC TV shows.
Well, I think it might just be smart marketing too, because like with Doctor Who, you only have so many old Doctor Who fans who really loved the old days where it was, let's make special effects with whatever we can find in the craft closet this afternoon. There's
Let's
only
put
so
on
many
a
dudes.
show.
Yeah. We can get Aunt May to make some costumes for us, and here, throw some glitter and wrap yourself in plastic. We'll call you a monster. And there's only so many dudes who really dug that stuff, and you kind of need to,
I don't
take
even think
this.
most people could find PBS on their TV back then to
And
watch
if
it.
you could, they weren't even showing them in order. So I mean, you kind of got to take the cool stuff from that and find a way to, make it have a broader appeal because the original appeal was kind of narrow. And maybe that's where you got to be for taking superheroes into other media. Is you got to realize that there's only so many guys who are really going to read DC Rebirth, and maybe you gotta or whatever
Yeah,
the DC new launch is. And you gotta if you're
yeah.
I
translating it
think
to the
I
movies.
personally think the only reason DC is even still publishing comics now is to mine it for ideas for movies and TV.
Yeah, they want to keep the IP alive so that it's got some base when they want to launch their next video game or movie or TV show. So yeah, I would agree.
And
But
I truly wonder about the powers that be that went ahead and said, "Hey, let's have an R-rated Superman movie. Yeah, that'll be great. That'll
uh,
go over big with the kids."
it's the grim and gritty stuff. The kids are into that these days. Haven't you heard about emo?
Yeah. Hey, look, let's
So,
take the 7-year-old out.
yeah.
Now, you guys
The thing
planning to
is,
go see Suicide Squad?
Now, Suicide Squad, I could see as an R-rated film. That I could see if it's a dark humor, because if you actually read the run, the kind of stuff that it's based on, the John Ashinger run back from the '80s when they revamped it and started using the villains, and I mean that actually was well written. It had a little humor to it. It was funny. Had a decent plot line. So I'm going to see where I'm going to give the movie a shot.
I will be checking it out based on the trailer I saw that really amused me. But
But I also heard they're reshooting the last third of the movie. So,
well, here's something to consider. That goofy Deadpool movie that just came out, it made more money than Batman v Superman. It made more money than Thor. It made more money than the first two Captain America movies. It made just barely made more money than Guardians of the Galaxy. So all of a sudden, I think we might start seeing a lot of DC movies getting some more humor, grilled into them, just because, that was a surprise hit, and it did really well. So I think Suicide Squad.
Ryan Reynolds made Deadpool work. It's that simple.
Yeah.
He made the movie work.
Yeah, definitely. That's some of his best work since Van Wilder? I don't know. What was Ryan Reynolds known for before this?
He was known as the guy when you said, I don't care who we put in it. People are just coming for the special effects.
Yeah, fair enough. So, the actor who I formerly used to confuse with Dane Cook, that guy.
Even I think that's mean.
Sorry. Well, hey, I got one decent joke off in the last hour, and I got to pick the kid up for daycare, so this is probably a good time to end. Dom, thanks so much for showing up. Hope we can get you on some time in the future, since we didn't get to talk to you too much this time.
Yeah, like I said, I got stuck at the dealership dealing with that because of the lovely recall on my vehicle.
No worries, man.
Yeah.
It is all good. Chris, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming out, sir.
Oh, my pleasure.
Walt, as always, thanks for coming along.
I love Deadpool.
We all love Deadpool. All right, and listeners, thanks.
Screaming from across the ocean.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that.
We do not all love Deadpool. Okay. All right, and thanks for tuning in, listeners, and we'll catch you next time on the Banff Podcast.